Are we back? Are we back? I think we're back. Are we back? Hopefully it's in the same video. I don't know if it's going to... It may start another one. If not, we'll have to do this in 2 parts. Okay, we're back. So we're going to have to do this one in 2 parts. YouTube today just does not want to be my friend. I don't know what to say. So we'll give everybody a minute to get over here. For those of you who are looking for the first part of this video, I'll be sure to link it in the description box below. YouTube today just is like not wanting to play nicely. So I apologize for that. So if you're interested in the first part of this video, before I got caught off, I will be sure to link that in the description box below if you're watching this in future times. And I'll also be sure to link this video in the previous video so that people can watch them together. Goodness. Today. YouTube just does not want to be my friend. So we're back. I don't know why it just ended it all by itself. It literally, my streaming software still said I was streaming. My internet was fine. YouTube just is having a moment today, apparently. So it's one of those things. Goodness gracious me. So again, for those of you who may have just found this, we are doing a deep dive into the Hierophant. Again, I'll put the link to the first video below so we can make sure people get those 2 tied together. So I apologize for that. YouTube Live just does not want to be my friend today. But let's pick up where we left off. So we were talking about the Hierophant's cross, right? Specifically this image here, right? The cross that is held within the hand of the Hierophant. And the point that I was making is that there is some association with the triple tau, right? Which is a very ancient sort of Christian symbol that is widely used within Freemasonry today, a very specific sort of section of Freemasonry. It's also used in different sort of occult circles and things like that. And it's often also confused with the Cross of Lorraine, which is this cross. So, keep that in mind when we're talking about the symbolism, right? The cross here, again, has associations and representations of the church, the authority that the Pope has over the church, heaven, and the world, right? So the power that he has in all 3 sort of aspects, and there within, right? So that is the staff. Let's dive back into the keys. Now the keys, the crossed keys, again, are a symbol that we see associated very heavily with the Pope, right? Here at the beginning of the post, I have the coat of arms of the Holy See, right? And we see these symbols echoed in this coat of arms, right? The papal tiara and the crossed keys, right? And these crossed keys are said to represent the keys to heaven and earth, right? They're the keys that were given to St. Peter by Christ, indicating his power in heaven and on earth, right? And they represent the mastery of both the mundane and the spiritual. Okay, so that's kind of what that element of the card is speaking to. At his feet, we see 2 kneeling supplicants or monks. And it's interesting because a lot of people miss out on one of the very key symbols that is presented within this aspect of the card, right? We have the 2 kneeling monks with that are enrobed, one wearing robes of roses and another wearing robes of lilies. And this echoes throughout the major arcana in Waite's tarot, right? We see it throughout both of them, okay? And it specifically echoes back to the Magician card, where we see the roses and lilies. And the roses, again, represent love, and the lilies represent purity, okay? So it represents the pure love that the people have for not only the Pope, but the Church, right? And God, therefore. But also it's them kneeling before him signifies their place of being beneath the Pope, and their servitude towards the Pope and therefore the Church and God. So, you know, that is sort of, again, another aspect of that authority thing that I pointed out before. And then we talk about the pillars. So the pillars, Waite, it's interesting because in Pictorial Key, Waite makes a very clear distinction that the pillars are not those of the temple guarded by the high priestess. And then he really doesn't say anything else. So he's kind of like saying that they're just really there for prettiness, is what a lot of people think. Other people have associated them with the ideas of liberty and law, or obedience and disobedience. So there's not a whole lot of evidence between that in terms of symbolism. There is some evidence in terms of historical precedents to those ideas being represented by pillars in, you know, Renaissance art and things like that. But as far as what Waite says, he's just kind of saying, no, they're there to look good. Then we have the hand gesture, which is a sign of benediction. And this is a blessing. It's a sign of blessing, but it's also worth noting that the sign is made of 2 fingers pointing up and 2 fingers pointing down. Okay, right? So the 2 fingers pointing up, as above, so below, right? So we have that echoing again of the Magician card, which is really interesting, right? So that is sort of the general meaning of that. That's it as far as the symbols go, right? They're pretty straightforward. There's nothing overly hidden or mysterious behind a lot of the symbols that Waite chose for this card in particular. But they're very key and they're very critical, and they all speak to the meaning that is associated with this card, right? That we talked about earlier in part 1 of the video now. So it's the symbols represent the meaning, right? There's a connection between the visuals and the interpretations of the cards, right? All of the things that you see in these pictures are there for a reason, and that's the whole point of discussing this with you, right? Because symbolism is a language that transcends culture sometimes, but it transcends time almost all of the time, right? When a symbol is ingrained into a culture's identity, that symbol typically carries forward. It's very rare that symbols don't. There's something very powerful about symbols. So when you're looking at modern decks and you're seeing echoes of these symbols, right, having that context and that pool of knowledge to draw from is only going to give you much better readings, right? More accurate readings, more interesting readings, things like that. So that's really all I had for you guys today. YouTube apparently just is not having it. So I apologize for this video being in 2 parts. This second portion will be a very brief video. If you're interested in watching the first video, if you're coming back to this, I'll make sure that it's linked in the description box below, so you can watch all of the other stuff we talked about when we dove into the Hierophant and his evolution of visual symbols and meaning through time. Are there any questions? Does anyone have any questions? If not, we'll get things wrapped up because YouTube is just having a day today, apparently. I don't know what the deal is, but it is just not wanting to play nicely with me. Because of the connection with the Pope, it's always represented oppression to you. It's interesting. A lot of people have sort of a negative connection with this card because of that, right? And the history of the Catholic Church doesn't necessarily lend itself well to an opinion other than that, right? But at the same time, right, the context of the card, I think, is important to remember as well. YouTube is being a brat. I agree, Lisa. I agree 100%. So yeah, I don't see very many questions in chat. So no worries. I appreciate you guys hanging out and dealing with all the technical difficulties today. YouTube just was having a moment, apparently. But again, if you're interested in watching the first part of this video so you can get the full context, be sure to check out the links down below. I'll pin it in the comments as well. I really appreciate you guys coming to hang out with me and dive into the Hierophant today. We will be continuing this series, so if you're interested, be sure to go check out the playlist on my channel. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as the other one, part one. Give part one a thumbs up too. It really helps the channel grow. And yeah, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all of that fun stuff so that you don't miss another tarot deep dive. As always, remember, everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. So be kind, always. Bye, everybody.